What's up, guys and gals? It is Wednesday, so you guys know what it is time for some more Kengan Omega Chapter 333, entitled A Single Mistake. Now, just right out of the gate, I really like this chapter for a couple of reasons. One of which is more because the fandom really likes the character of Lu, one of the three demon fists. The prodigy of Chinese martial arts and stuff like that. The other one is just straight up because at this point, a enemy who is not Shen, who is part of the worm technically, has just straight up won. The title of the chapter, A Single Mistake, implies, and even Jean brings it up. Jean brings it up in this chapter and basically says, I've got to wait for the perfect opening, you know what I mean? If he gets serious, I'm done for, sort of idea. Like, I've got to wait for that moment where he drops his guard and then, wha-ha, sort of the exact thing that I sort of played out. I think it was the review before this one. Not 332, but 331 maybe. I brought up like, okay, this is probably how this is going to go down. Nicholas is still the superior fighter, etc., etc. Well, yes, he is a superior fighter. He does some Fist of the North Star shit. Not only, like, pressure points. Nah. My guy, we've gone beyond just hitting accurate pressure points at this point. This ain't an acupuncture lesson. This is, I'm going to take you to the hospital. This is an ER lesson here. And I'm hitting blood vessels. You know what I mean? And I'm like, okay. Just like Jean is sort of there going like, I've evolved, I've perfected certain versions of Sehat and stuff like that. And, it didn't stay stagnant just because I thought I was you. Nicholas sort of like, and you thought I was sitting on my hands, not improving, doing nothing, being surrounded by guys like Shen and their head and Edward and stuff like that. You don't think that I would have tried to improve? So, anyways, I really like the fact that in this chapter, the fight was relatively short, but it should be. Not only did a bad guy win, a named bad guy has won on screen, won a fight against one of our quote-unquote good guys, given more motivation to Lu to track him down, as the end of the chapter implies, that Nicholas made a single mistake. He angered and incurred the wrath of the prodigy, of Lu and stuff. And I'm like, all right, so Lu fans, You're eating good, and for plot relevance, a good guy has fallen, and one of our named bad guys, actually just straight up like, no, he wasn't too cocky, he didn't make any mistakes, he didn't take an injury unnecessarily by dropping his guard. No, the man just straight up got him, and he was like, yeah, I'm not really supposed to engage, I'm just sort of here to fill a quota, and by the way, can you make sure, you can fight me right now, but he's kind of in some shit shape right now, so if you save his life, which I know you want to do, it stops me from being eliminated, because the no killing rule. So, help a brother out, and that's Nicholas's whole thing. He's kind of barring. I'm kind of here with him on this one, you know what I mean? So, I think from a writing perspective, now the one downside to this, is the rather egregious retconning of, while believable, as I've argued before, was handled kind of poorly because of other subsequent texts and material and stuff like that. The fact that they retcon Nicholas's quote-unquote death just to bring him back here to be an enemy for Jean. Basically, Jean becomes a plot device to amp up and showcase that good guys are going to lose, and not necessarily against other good guys or gray characters. They're going to straight up, some bad guys are going to win their fights on screen. So the only reason we sort of brought him into the fold of this tournament and brought him with the motivation and brought Nicholas back to life is sort of as a token character of our good guys, quote unquote, to lose, right? To motivate Lu to make that stuff up. So yeah, on the surface level, it looks like, okay, alright, stakes are raised. We're actually, like, the good guy team isn't just dominating every fight, blah, blah, blah. Because really, the amount of bad guys is quite limited versus the overall, like, if we number all the 60-odd combatants, they don't make up a majority. In fact, they make up quite a minority of the total amount of fighters. Now, yes, of course, Shen being included is a big, up here, sort of upscale. Numbers aren't all that matter. But in that regard, there are some characters who we're going to have to see actually triumph in their fights, and they can't all be these hard-won conflicts, you know what I mean? Because I just really appreciate the fact that, no, Nicholas, Jean here is out of his league. Nicholas dominated him because he's up here, and Jean's down here. You know what I mean? That's just the long and the short of it sort of idea, right? And so, yeah, for this week, for this chapter, I'm happy with that. I'm actually happy. So, yeah, as I said, if you look deeper into the writing, this was sort of a setup to showcase that. So if you have a problem with that, I understand that one complaint, but on a surface level writing and surface level for the chapter, and just ignoring the retcon, if you take the retcon out of context here, if you just take it out of the situation, this was a good fight. It was a good one-sided beatdown, and in showcasing that not all the members of the enemy team or the Worm is going to just all lose to Agito and Oma. You know what I mean? Wakatsuki's going to show off. Hatsumi's going to show off. Roland's going to show off. Everybody's going to show off. And Gao Lang's going to show off, but nobody else. You know what I mean? Like, they're not just there just to amp up our good guys for their fight against Shen. Or potential fights against characters like Yan and Gilbert, right? So, as far as I'm concerned, I really like this sort of two-part chapter. Sort of this two-part fight, I should say. This chapter was well-paced, well-handled. Showcasing that, oh yeah, like, Nicholas is sort of somewhat taking this seriously, but he's not dead on sort of idea, Jean's trying to pull off exactly what I said, and once again, the chapter of the title, misleading. I was thinking, okay, Nicholas made a single mistake, which he did, but in a different way, so I kind of like that the assumption on this was, this is where he's going to be, you let your guard down, and now I've done this, and stuff, or Luke created a diversion, or whatever was going to happen. I assumed it was going to damage Nicholas, and it did not. So, Nicholas Le Banner is at 100% HP, and he's going off to go do his own thing once again. And as I said, as not a huge Lu fan, I don't love or hate Lu. The fact is that Lu fans, you're starting to eat here because now Jean's been not only defeated but eliminated from the tournament, so now there's none of this. He's got to babysit him or he's got to watch out for him or whatever. Lu's whole thing is going to be to track Nicholas down. And now you guys are going to probably have, I assume we're setting this up, obviously, for a Nicholas versus Lu fight. And that's going to be a significant fight. We've seen now the power of Nicholas. Lu's got an uphill battle to win here. I assume we're going to see this battle on screen. And it looks like it's going to be a pretty good fight between the Chinese martial arts versus the Sahite fighting style. I think it's going to be incredibly interesting because it's something you want to dodge, not block. Because blocking puts you at a disadvantage, right? So, very, very interesting. There's going to be a lot of fancy footwork going on and stuff like that. I think, if handled correctly, this is a really fun matchup and an uphill battle for a fan-favorite character. So, as I said, two good reasons to like the chapter. One, a bad guy actually won and won handily, which is something that's sort of been missing from the Omega sphere. And number two is that Lu fans. I can't see why you guys be unhappy with this. We're setting him up like Nicholas screwed up. He made a mistake by not taking Lu down when he had the chance because it's time to throw down with Fajin, and stuff like that, right? So I'm looking forward to what's going to happen next. Who do you think? Obviously, we're going to jump away from these characters now. What characters do you guys think are going to be featured on 334? I'm thinking we're going to jump over to Rahito. Rahito and Kanade. For some reason. I don't think we're going to see anybody too serious. I don't think we're going to follow like Gao Lang or Waka or somebody like that. I think the characters on our team that we're going to follow is going to be an unexpected characters. Like Oma and Okubo doing their thing, blah, blah, blah. But I think we're actually going to follow somebody else. Or we might already be in the middle of a fight. Or one-sided beatdown or something like that, right? But I'm thinking it's somebody not expected. I'm not thinking we're going to follow a top tier. I think we're going to jump over to somebody else. Somebody we're not really expecting. So I'm going with Rahito. But what do you guys think? Who are we going to be featuring for the next chapter? Let me know down in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as always. And we'll see you guys back here next week for chapter 334. Looking forward to it. Hope you guys are too. Have a good Wednesday. Sayonara.